Your Help presents Stress-Free Living with Ray Samich and Mr. Stress-Free, Ratanjit S. Sandhi. This audio program is an unscripted and unrehearsed conversation between Ray and Ratanjit. It is shared with you in hope of adding value to your life. We encourage you to listen to this program in its entirety to receive the full impact of its message. Sit back, relax, open your heart, mind, and soul to this edition of Stress-Free Living.
This is Stress-Free Living. Ray Samich here, along with the host of our program, my dear brother, Ratanjit Sandhi. Ratanjit, how are you today?
Wonderful, Ray. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. Always better. I know I say that almost every week, but it's true that I get inspired, I get picked up, whatever my spirits might be at any given day. When I see your face and talk about things at this level, I always feel better afterwards. So I'm grateful that we're together again today.
So am I.
I also want to share with our audience that we, again, are not with our regular Zoom audience. So it's just you and me today, Ratanjit. And this program is being heard, as always, on the radio and on stream at wintradio.com. But most of the time, we do record this with a live audience with us on a Zoom basis. And if you would like to be a part of that, we're there almost every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And you're welcome to join us to be part of our live audience on Zoom. If you're not able to do that and you maybe you're too busy at 9 o'clock on Saturdays, then you can always catch our program on YouTube. We have a Stress-Free Living Radio YouTube channel that you can enjoy all of our many shows over the last quite a few months. So you can enjoy us there at a 24/7 on-demand basis. Ratanjit, let's talk today about an interesting pair of words that seem like they're the same thing, but I know you know better than anybody that they're not the same, but they sound very similar. The word efficient and the word effective. And my question is, I know they're both good. I know being efficient is good. I know being effective is good. Can you do both? If you can only do one, which one do you choose? And why? Because I can probably give you an argument on both of those words being very important. So can you do them both together?
Well, ultimately, that's what we have to do, Ray. See, to be efficient, you have to do things right. And all our training, all our education, all our learning is directed towards being efficient. So corporations are very efficient. Efficiency has to do with time and the final outcome. So it is very important to be efficient. But effectiveness is different. See, if you have a meeting with your daughter, 14-year-old daughter, she calls, Dad, I need to talk to you. And you are a very busy man. She says, okay, I'm going to schedule, is 1 hour going to be enough or 2 hours? 1 hour, I can give you 1 hour. She says, okay, Dad. So you give her 1 hour, a particular time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as you give her time, and now as the time approaches, and she's still not into the whole thought process, because she's not very sure the problems which she's encountering. So she's fumbling, she's trying to tell you, and you are forcing us, come on, I don't have all day. We have to be efficient. You have to be efficient. So as a consequence, you have to cut at the end. You say, look, your 1 hour is finished. So we'll talk later on. So whatever she told you, based on that, you gave her your decision. But she is still completely lost. She thinks that you don't really care because you are more part in being efficient. So relationship cannot be built on being efficient, Ray. You have to be effective. To be effective, you have to reach the heart. Efficiency is all your creativity, focus, your mind directing is towards being efficient, where your heart is coming to make you effective. So if you have a 2-hour meeting with a client and you cut that meeting into 1.5, you are very efficient. But if you are effective and you basically were able to make your point, you were able to achieve that effectiveness at the message within 5 minutes, then you don't need to be in that time bond. So efficiency is time bond. Effectiveness is not time bond. Effectiveness is, there is, let me hear your point of view before we go on.
Okay. First of all, you talked about the important conversation one-on-one with a person, where so worried about the time that was elapsed and the fact that they have to move on. I think aside from this topic, I think it's important that we always realize the human element that we have to have. And when people need us, I mean, if, for example, if you go to visit a friend who lost their mother and you go to the funeral home to pay your respects, and you want to say before you go in, I think I can get in and out of here in 15 minutes because I've got other things I have to do tonight. But when you go in there and you realize that your friend needs you and that your friend is taking this very hard and they're very responsive to you, and you realize maybe I've got to spend 2 hours here because this is my opportunity to show kindness and concern and love and help him or her. So I think that element should always be in our minds and in our hearts. And that when you're trying to talk to, especially, a child and be a parent to them or a friend that needs you, then that comes first. And you have to put efficiency aside. It's not even a matter of being effective, it's a matter of being loving and kind and compassionate. So,
that's what effectiveness means. So now the perfect harmony, perfect scenario is if you are able to deliver the effectiveness within the time frame, so you are efficient and effective. That's where we need to be. But see, our entire training, Ray, is all on being efficient. Our entire training is not on being effective.
Well, I think, I didn't look up the definition of efficiency, but I think the idea is that you do whatever you need to do. You accomplish the task with the least amount of resources, including time. So you do it as fast as you can, as cost effectively as you can, and overall as productively as you can. But it's a balance of all of those factors. Effectiveness isn't first. It's so if it takes you 20 minutes to get it done and you can do it for $100 and it's a pretty good effectiveness, then that's okay. If it would have cost a lot more to be more effective, or would have taken a lot more time to be more effective, then you're not being efficient anymore. Now we say, well, it isn't worth it, so you're not efficient, so that's not a good model.
So let me put it another way. Another way to define efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. So if you are doing the things right, means if you are driving the car correctly, if you have fueled the car correctly, you are following but if you are on the wrong road, it doesn't matter how efficient you are. So effectiveness is basically, in my mind, defined as doing the right things. So what comes first? Doing the right things. Being effective is number one. After that, we need to be efficient. Once we know where we are going, then efficiency is important. But if we don't even know where we are going, all your efficiency will put you back into the ditch.
I think the reason that efficiency has become such a popular buzzword in business is that outside of the top decision makers, the CEOs and the immediate managers, directors of a company, people are given their job to do. Yes. And they are told, whatever it might be, produce these materials or move these boxes from this room to this room. I mean, however complicated that job might be, there isn't a thought about ultimately this is doing the right thing. It's simply you got tasks to perform, find the best way, the most efficient way of doing those tasks. I don't even know if many of those people know what happens with the next stage of their work, or ultimately what the company believes in or what the company is trying to accomplish. I think for the most part, they're worried about what's happening in their office or what's happening in their cubicle or what's happening with their immediate responsibilities. And so at that point, they almost don't even care about the bigger picture. It's just like, I want to be efficient with my job that I need to do.
See, in our life, Ray, what has happened is, I'm told to be successful means making a lot of money, or going and winning a gold medal at Olympic, or winning a championship, or being first in the class. Or so we have that end goal in mind. Mm-hmm. And we want to be as efficient in achieving that. And in the process, we have won the gold medal, but destroyed the athlete. They end up having mental problems and depressions and everything. We have succeeded in business, becoming the richest person, but compromise our entire life, our family, our loved one, or even our health. So that is the outcome of doing things right, but not knowing what are the right things to do. So let me give you another stark example.
Until you hold it until after the break?
Yes.
Okay, I'll let you get all those thoughts together for a stark example. We're talking today about the difference between effectiveness and efficiency. And in a world today where we all know effectiveness is important, but I think the accent is really on being efficient, saving money, saving time, getting jobs done quickly. Have we forgotten the importance of effectiveness in the process? We're going to continue talking about that when we return in just a moment with more of Stress-Free Living. Please stay with us. Okay, did 15 minutes, so we were pretty close to our timing there. And that's very good. And brother, I have to respond. Somebody had texted me and I got to shut them up so we can do this.
Okay.
Oh, I saw you texted me back. You're ready? Good. Oh, you know what? That one came through on WhatsApp. That was my woman from Bangladesh.
Oh, wow.
So it's got to be around midnight there, right? Wouldn't it be? Something like that.
No, early morning.
Early morning, is it?
10 and a half hour.
Five. So it's by 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay, that may be why she's just waking up, because she says, I need the rest of the document. Or shortly. Thank you. Okay, that way she doesn't text me again. All right. And let me go back to this. Okay. I think it's good. Where we're going, I think is good. Are you ready with your example? You still remember it?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome back to Stress-Free Living with Ratanjit and Ray. Yours truly, Ray Samich, with you tonight, talking about the stress that we cause ourselves and in our world because we're trying to balance effectiveness and efficiency. Can you balance them? Can we be efficient and also be effective? Ratanjit, I stopped you. You were saying you were going to give me an example that would demonstrate your point. So please take it away.
Well, if you are flying an aeroplane,
okay,
so you learn to fly. So to take off the airplane, you need to be efficient. You need to do the right things. No, you need to do things right.
Yes.
You need to do the things right. You need to have knowledge. You need to have practice. You need to know which button to press and all that. So similarly, to bring the plane back on land, you need, again, efficiency. You need doing the things right.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are going to fly the aircraft from, say, Cleveland to San Francisco, or Cleveland to Bangladesh, or India, or wherever, so then all your training is not going to help. You need a compass. You need somebody to put you on the right path. And that is where you become effective. So in life, all your efficiency is not going to help you. Yes, you need efficiency once you know where you need to go. And all your, see, again, if you have a compass, but you have an old donkey, you sit on the back of donkey, but you have a compass, you can still reach there. It may take you a year or two. And if you have the most advanced Mercedes, but you don't have the compass, you will still never reach your destination.
So let's just elaborate on that example with the plane, because everybody can envision what a pilot has to do, all of those many, many steps that they have to do in order to get that plane up off the ground. But once it's off the ground, now what? Okay, which direction do you fly in once it's off the ground? So yes, we can get started with efficiency. Whether it's getting dressed properly and eating properly and taking a shower and shaving and all those things that we do efficiently to do what is right in order to start our day or to start the airplane or to start the car. That all makes sense. But then what do you do? Where do you go? And how do you get to where you need to get to? So, and the same thing on the landing part. You said, you're right. I mean, once you get to your destination, you have to put the landing gear out and you have to cut your speed and you have to do it in a certain manner where you land safely. So landing and taking off are very critically important to going any place. If you don't ever take off or don't ever land, you never get there. But you could, if you take off and land, you could pretty much end up any place if you don't know where you're going.
Yes.
And so in a way, you'd be better off never taking off and never landing if you don't have an ultimate destination that you need to get to, because you could get into a lot of trouble if you just took off and said, I'm just going to go anywhere. That may not have a good ending.
Yes.
Right. And I guess that's kind of what we do in life, is sometimes we're very efficient about taking off, maybe incredibly efficient. Maybe we've got it down to a perfect science. But then if we don't know where to go once we're off the ground, we could easily get deterred off of a good path and easily end up in big trouble.
This is the story of our life.
Yeah.
This is what we look around and see. Highly intelligent people, highly educated, well-trained, well-decorated people. Why do they end up doing very stupid things? Because they don't have a compass. They don't know what are the right things to do. They think they know, but they don't know the right things to do.
Well, I think we sometimes, our brains get cluttered with all of these things to do right. I mean, we're so busy concentrating on the things to do correctly. And if you are educated and you've been in school for 25 years, getting all your degrees upon degrees, you have a lot of knowledge, a tremendous amount of knowledge in there, and you probably can do a lot of things right. You probably can do a lot of things correctly. But I think that the by accident, I think the people that are in that state think that they're also going to do the right things.
Yes.
And that's where you just made a point of being a major distinction. And maybe even if you're so concentrating on doing things right, maybe you forget that there even is a right way of doing things. You kind of lose track of that because maybe your head gets a little bit egotistical that says, oh, I'm so smart and I'm so educated and I'm so knowledgeable and I have so many skills that I have learned. Mm-hmm. I can use these anywhere and be great without realizing that you still need that compass.
Yep. So
what is the compass? Is the compass, is that goes back to our conscience again? Is that where the compass is?
Who is your director? Who is directing your life's movie? That's where it boils down to. See, if we talked in all other shows, and this is like a broken record, but if we are basically directed by our fear, greed, ego, jealousy, lust, all that is directing us at the bottom of it. So then where you want to go is decided by these factors. And all your efficiency is put into achieving those goals. I want more money. I want bigger home. I want all these great things. But at the end, you feel hollow because we don't understand the real purpose of life, Ray, is to experience joy, true happiness, I call. Whereas we chase happiness, but the happiness we call happiness is all experienced by our limited five senses: what tastes good, what looks good, what feels good, what makes me give more fame, my name, my recognition, all that. So that is what we are running after. Whereas that is short-lived. As I mentioned many times, if you are hungry, you need food, and food gives you tremendous joy at that point when you're hungry. But if you keep on eating, then the same food is going to make you sick.
Mm-hmm.
So the window of five senses-based pleasure is very small. Before is pain, and if you have too much of it, it's pain again. And the joy, the real joy, is experienced by your heart, by your soul, not by your brain, not by your five senses. So that is the clear difference. But we have been chasing the short-lived pleasure, and that is the direction we have chosen. So we are climbing the wrong hill all our life, being highly efficient. And as a consequence, we at the end, we are grossly disappointed.
Up until now, I was thinking of this show, this topic, as being very business oriented with business efficiency, because that's really where you think, at least that's where I think about the word efficient. I when I'm home with my family, I'm really not as much thinking about efficiency. I am absolutely thinking about it every moment that I'm involved with a business, because I'm trying to say, how can I get the most out of my time, out of my resources, and I need to be efficient. But you just introduced a couple minutes ago here, you've introduced the thought that we are even trying to be efficient with reaching our personal goals. And I've never thought of it that way, using it outside of the business environment, but on a personal basis. But I think, Ratanjit, you're right. I think, unfortunately, on a personal basis, the word efficiency can kind of be, you can substitute for that the word shortcut. Mm-hmm. We try to find shortcuts to happiness. We try to find shortcuts to, my family, my things that I do around my house, things that I do. I'm trying to balance things in my life, but I'm trying to really find the way that I can get all these things done simultaneously and still have some time for myself.
Efficiency is measured by time. So we are always trying to cut time. So right. I can do it better. I can do faster. My computer is 1,000 times faster than the old computer, and I can do this.
I plan my day out on a Saturday, and I know I have 8 stops to do. So I find them, in a map, the best way that I can be, save as much time as I can and be as efficient as I can.
So
and
time waste, this is all based on efficiencies, all based on time.
But the other half of that, though, is what is my ultimate goal? Okay, and you're right. Is it because I want to have that bigger house? You sneezed. Is it because I want to have, I want to have more money? I want to be able to take a better vacation. Is it? I mean, those are the kind of goals, personal goals that we normally do set for ourselves. And so these shortcuts along the way are designed to help us achieve those goals more quickly. Don't you think, though, that on a human basis, on that non-professional, on the personal basis, we are trying to find ways of satisfying our family, of expanding our personal relationships, of, I know half of marriages end in a divorce, but I don't think anybody goes into a marriage thinking they want a divorce. They're going into it thinking they want to stay married. And then it doesn't happen half of the time. But I mean, don't you think even as we're trying to do these shortcuts, as we're trying to do these efficiencies, part of us still wants also to have love, and we want to be good people. We want to do things, the right way.
See, marriage or relationship has both elements. It can give you pleasure, 5 sensory pleasure, and it can also give you joy. Now, the difference between pleasure and joy is pleasure is short-lived.
Mm-hmm.
It is eventually, you have too much of it, it becomes pain. Joy, you can have unlimited. So pleasure is experienced by your 5 senses. Joy is experienced by your soul. So pleasure, the direction of pleasure is always from others to you. What is in it for me? And the direction of joy is what is coming out of me for others. So now let's take a marriage. Now, if you are focused on pleasure mode, what is in it for me? You are always going to think, how many times she has said, I love you? What has he done for me? So you are always evaluating. And you are all parked in short-lived pleasures. But if you are on the joy mode, then you drive joy out of loving her, making her happy, serving her, not judging her. So the secret of long marriage is, if you are parked in joy mode and experiencing the feeling of giving, loving, and serving, that gives you the real joy. Then your marriage is going to be successful. But if you are parked in what is in it for me? No matter how good that other person is, it's never going to be enough. So you one day get up and say, I don't love you anymore. I want another person. You're always looking for something which will give you more and better. You are in the efficiency mode. In the effective mode, you experience joy. So one is doing things right, and the other is doing the right things.
on that note, we're going to take a quick break. We're talking today about doing the right thing versus doing things right, doing things efficiently versus doing things effectively. I'm still not exactly sure. I understand, and I want to see how we can ultimately do the right things right and do things effectively and efficiently, because it seems like that definitely is the magic ticket. This is Stress-Free Living, trying to reduce some stress in our life. We'll be right back. Okay, we went long. That's okay. 18 and 15 is 33. So we have 15 left. We're okay. All right. So this is I think, a good opportunity, a good show to do a how-to. I think that's what we should concentrate on here is, okay, how can we do both? How can we factor in the effectiveness into the efficiency mode and do both? So I think we'll come back with that one. This is our last segment, 15 minutes. Are you good?
Yes.
I sneezed during a show. And I said, can I stop it? And I said, no, I can't. So, all right.
But I didn't hear it. I just saw it.
That's because I hit the mute button as I sneezed. But you sure saw it in my face, but I hit it. So you didn't hear it. All right.
So on radio, they won't hear. They won't know.
They won't hear it. No. All right, here we go. We're back on Stress-Free Living. Thank you so much for being with us today. Ratanjit and Ray with you, talking again about efficiency versus effectiveness, doing the right thing versus doing things right. Ratanjit, so often our listeners, our viewers of our program come up to me and say, I agree with everything you guys are saying. It makes perfect sense. But how do we do that? Tell me how to get those things done. So I think that's the next question for the rest of the show here today. How can we be both effective and efficient? Is it necessary that you have to not be effective to be efficient in today's world?
Yeah, see, that's all our training is, to become efficient.
Right.
We are trained to be efficient, all our computer and everything. But computer, Ray, is a good example. Garbage in, garbage out, right?
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with the computer. It's what you put in it. So similarly, we have been gifted an amazing computer, our brain. But if the feedback and the control of the brain is conducted by an entity who is embedded in fear, who is completely captivated by greed, who is driven by ego, jealousy, lust, then this most effective brain is going to tell you how to be more efficient being greedy. So that is exactly what is happening. Our most amazing computer has a wrong software, wrong guidance, wrong directive, because our human body is directing it. So people listening to this, they say, Ratanjit, what are you talking about? What else is there to direct? Of course, human body has to direct. So my friends, you have to realize in the innate wisdom, amazing wisdom, the universe has created this human body to be self-sufficient. It creates its own blood, it fights disease, and it has clear understanding that one of its most important objective is to protect itself. Because it is vulnerable. It can very easily be burned. At a higher temperature, it has to stay cool, and it can be frozen at the lower temperature. It has to stay warm enough. And your human body's pH has to be 7.4. And if falls below that, it dies. It goes above that, it dies. It balances this pH. And when we eat the wrong food, which increases the acidity, it dissolves his bones to correct it. So it's always maintains that pH. Amazing, amazing human body.
Mm-hmm.
But because it is designed by nature to protect itself, it has to be cautious. It has to be fearful of the things which can harm it. It can stay away from things. So it is always cautiously fear invested. So it is fearful. And it knows it has to have enough food, enough shelter, enough place to live, enough things. So it always gathers things. It is parked in greed. And it has its own pride. It has to have its own sustenance, own confidence. So it's parked in ego, and so on. So if that human body is directing your computer, all your efficiencies are towards what is in it for me. And your mission of life is always winning at all cost. What is in it for me? Even if a loved one who you love dearly insults you or says something which is for your own good but hurts your ego, you don't like that person anymore. So our liking and disliking of other people, it depends on if they serve my own personal needs. Who do we call friends? Who help me? So what else is there to guide our brain? That is the question. You see, this human body has to have life in it. And that life in it comes from universal energy. It's just like the electricity coming into a light bulb, and it lights the light bulb. But it is the same electric power going into every light bulb. And it is connected to the powerhouse, a single powerhouse. So all of us are connected to the universal power which enlivens us. If we allow that power to control our brain or computer, then effectiveness happens. We understand the purpose of our being here on a short period of this life. So then we begin to do things which bring joy, inner gratification, real satisfaction. And that only happens when we begin to add the highest value. To who? To the divine power present in others. We don't serve anymore my brother, my sister, my neighbor, my fellow citizen. I only serve the divine power present in other beings. So I do not segregate them as mine or others. I don't have anymore any enemies or friends. I have only one purpose: to serve the divine power present in all. I only see goodness in them. And my life transforms. And that makes me effective, because the vibration which come out of me are very positive, kind, respectful, and whoever is around my aura experiences that if I'm parked in that mode.
So everything you've just said, it sounds so beautiful and it sounds so perfect. But I'm thinking on behalf of people that have to be listening to this right now and saying, I just got this efficiency thing down, Ratanjit. I just figured out that by doing this and by changing this a little bit and by putting a little more attention here and a little less attention here, and by maneuvering this and that, I am the most efficient I've ever been. I was able to figure those things out because I was looking at all of the different aspects of whatever that project was. They were all, as they say, in a box. And so I just sorted all of those things out in the box, and now I'm very efficient. And I'm comfortable with that. And I feel good about myself with how I was able to become efficient with my job. What you're suggesting now sounds like a whole lot of work. It sounds like I have got to look and revisit everything all the time to figure out how can I be effective here? How can I be the most effective? And you didn't just say how I have to add value, you said how I have to add the highest value. So now I don't have time to be efficient. I'm going to spend all the time to try to be effective because Ratanjit says that's better. And he says, I'm going to feel a lot of joy when I'm not feeling much joy being efficient. So I'd like to feel joy, but that's going to be so much work. And maybe I'm going to be effective and I'm going to spend all day long talking to somebody and making them feel better. And I'll feel good about it, but I won't get paid anymore because I didn't do anything efficiently for my job. Do you understand where I'm going with this? It just seems like I can't do both. It seems like I can be efficient or I can be the good person that I was meant to be and see the power, divine power in everyone and live my life on that level and be very effective and be very joyful, but I'll probably go broke and I won't have any food.
Well, see, it's not, the question is not that effectiveness does not make you earn money or lose money. But on a long run basis, your sustainability of the business depends on whether you are effective. Sustainability, otherwise businesses come, go and down. They are very efficient. There are businesses who have they become master of what they do. But why do they go out of business? So the people who are working there are very efficient. And they thought they had a job, but suddenly they lost. So many huge corporations, big corporations, never thought they will go out of business, have gone out of business because the value they were adding was only towards a short-term basis. They were not bringing a long-term value. It is like when you have a headache, taking an aspirin, but not removing the headache completely. So our whole product line was based on temporary reliefs rather than giving them the real solution, because we never became effective in understanding our goal and purpose of life is to add the highest value and a long-term value. We are a very charitable country, Ray. $400 billion is given in charity per year. And 70% of that comes from private citizens. But still, look at the homeless, look at the poverty level. Because our ego feels better in giving them the money, but we don't go get involved in solving the problem. We give Band-Aid.
Unfortunately, we're just about out of time. So the answer, I think I heard you say to my question about doing both and having difficulty and actually being easier to be efficient, is that you're suggesting that we don't even have a choice, that efficiency, even the most efficient people at some point in time are going to have a problem. And even the most efficient businesses at some point are going to have a problem, because unless you are effective first, then efficiency doesn't matter.
Right, exactly.
So just like the pilot, to go back to your earlier example, you can do all the things perfectly to start the plane, but if you don't know the direction that you're going to go to get to your destination, you'll never get there.
Right.
And you could very well end up in the wrong place if you don't have that compass.
Right.
Ratanjit, on that, we have to say goodbye. We're out of time, unfortunately, but you've opened my eyes again, as you always do, to this difference and to the real significant difference and importance of being effective. We will come back, I'm sure, and talk about this topic some more in the future. Thank you very much, Ratanjit. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ray.
And we want to thank our audience. As always, thank you for taking the time to be with us here today. We hope that we have added some value to your life. We hope that we've been effective in adding value to your life. Remember, folks, we're all playing the same game. Have a great day.